It was still pitch black outside when the knock came sharp, urgent, right on my bedroom door. I jolted awake, heart slamming against my ribs. The clock on the nightstand glowed 5:03 a.m. No one knocks like that unless something is seriously wrong. I threw on a robe, flipped on the hallway light, and cracked the door. There stood my father, Robert Dixon, face as white as the paint on the walls, breathing hard like he'd sprinted the 3 blocks from his place to my suburban house on the edge of Birmingham. His eyes were wide, wild, nothing like the calm, quiet man who raised me. "Don't go to work today," he said, voice low and shaking. "Just trust me. Stay home. Don't leave the house for any reason." I stared at him, brain still half asleep. "Dad, what are you talking about? What happened?" He didn't answer right away. He just looked over his shoulder into the dark street as if he expected headlights to appear any second. Then he stepped closer, voice dropping to a whisper. "You'll understand by noon. Please, Loretta. Promise me. My name is Loretta Dixon. I'm 32 years old, a financial advisor at Midland Capital here in Birmingham. I live alone in the house I bought 5 years ago. Quiet street, good neighbors, predictable life. I've never taken a sick day unless I was actually dying. And now my own father was standing in my doorway at dawn looking like he'd seen a ghost, begging me not to go to the office. I searched his face for some clue joke nightmare breakdown, but all I saw was real fear, the kind that makes your stomach drop. 3 months earlier, he'd started acting strange late-night calls asking if anyone new had been around the neighborhood, questions about my schedule, warnings to keep my eyes open. I'd brushed it off as him getting older, worrying too much. Now I wasn't so sure. "Dad, you're scaring me," I said, voice barely steady. "Tell me what's going on." He shook his head once sharp. "I can't. Not yet. Just stay here today. Lock the doors. Don't answer for anyone except me." He reached out, squeezed my arm hard, harder than he ever had, then turned and walked back down the driveway without another word. No backward glance. Just gone into the dark. I stood there, frozen, hand still on the doorknob, cold air slipping inside. Part of me wanted to laugh it off, maybe he was having some kind of episode. But the other part, the part that had felt those strange things lately, the car that sat across the street for hours with tinted windows, the blocked calls where no one spoke, the way my brother Nathan kept texting to ask if I was definitely going in tomorrow, that part told me to listen. I closed the door, locked it, deadbolt too. Then I grabbed my phone and texted my manager, "Personal emergency. Won't be in today. Sorry. Sent. Done." The house felt too quiet after that. Every creak of the floorboard sounded like footsteps. The refrigerator hummed louder than normal. I sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the clock, waiting for whatever noon was supposed to bring. And deep down, I knew whatever my father was protecting me from, it wasn't small. It wasn't random. It was already moving toward me. If you want to know why my own father was terrified enough to wake me at dawn, and what the police told me at 10:30 that made my entire world collapse, hit subscribe right now and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Because what happened next didn't just change my day. It changed everything I thought I knew about my family. And trust me, you won't see the end coming. The minutes dragged into hours. By 7:30, the sun had finally climbed high enough to push light through the blinds, but the house still felt sealed off from the world. I moved from the couch to the kitchen, then back again, phone in hand, checking for messages that never came. Dad hadn't called. No one had. I kept replaying his grip on my arm, the way his fingers dug in like he was afraid I'd vanish if he let go. I tried to distract myself with coffee, but every sip tasted bitter. My mind kept drifting back to how this all really started 3 years ago, when Dad walked out of Dixon Realty for the last time. He'd been vice president there since I was in high school, the kind of man who knew every property listing in Jefferson County by heart. Then one Tuesday, he came home early, tie loosened, face gray, and said the board had mutually agreed to let him go. No severance details, no goodbye party, just a cardboard box on the passenger seat and a story about restructuring. I believed him at first. Companies downsize. People get cut. But over the next months, little things didn't add up. Phone calls he took in the garage with the door closed. Bank statements he hid under stacks of old mail. Once I found a folder in his desk labeled Settlement, confidential with pages blacked out like they were classified. When I asked, he snapped something he never did and told me to stay out of it. "It's handled," he said. "Let it stay handled." I let it drop. I had my own career to build at Midland Capital, my own mortgage to pay. But the unease never left. And then Nathan got involved. My brother Nathan was 28, 3 years younger, always the one with big ideas and bigger debts. He'd bounced between sales jobs after college, finally landing at a competing real estate firm downtown. Dad had tried to pull strings to get him into Dixon Realty back when things were good, but Nathan said he wanted to make it on his own. Funny how that changed after Dad's exit. Suddenly Nathan was asking for loans, 5,000 here, 8,000 there, claiming startup costs for some side venture that never materialized. Dad always paid. Always. Last month, Nathan started showing up unannounced at my house, bringing takeout, asking casual questions that felt anything but casual. "You still handling those high net worth accounts? Anyone new in your office lately? Dad mention anything about the old company?" I laughed it off, told him Dad was just retired and fishing too much. But the questions kept coming sharper each time, and the strange things piled up. There was the black SUV with tinted windows that parked across the street 3 different mornings last week. Same spot, same plates, Alabama tag starting with 4AL. It sat for hours, engine off, no one getting out. I noticed it because it was the only car that never moved when the school bus came through. The second time I walked out to take a photo, it pulled away fast. Then the calls. Blocked numbers usually around 9 p.m. I'd answer here breathing, then silence. Hang up. Call back disconnected. 3 times in 10 days. I changed my settings to silence unknowns, but the notifications still buzzed like warnings. Nathan texted more than usual, too. "You going in early tomorrow? Make sure you lock up. Heard anything weird at work?" I replied short, kept it light. But last night he called voice tight asking if Dad had stopped by recently. When I said no, he paused too long before saying, "Good. Just checking." Then he hung up. I set the coffee mug down harder than I meant to. The clock read 9:15. Still no word from Dad. I walked to the front window, edged the blind aside, scanned the street. Empty. No SUV today. But the quiet felt heavier, like the air itself was holding its breath. I sat back down, pulled my knees up, tried to think straight. Dad wasn't the type to panic over nothing. Whatever made him show up at my door before sunrise had roots that went back further than this week or last month. Back to the day he lost his job. Back to whatever settlement he never explained. My phone stayed dark on the cushion beside me. I stared at it, willing it to ring, willing him to call and say it was all a misunderstanding. But it didn't. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a small cold voice started whispering, "What if noon brings something I can't ignore?" The waiting stretched on each tick of the wall clock, louder than the last. At 10:32, my phone finally rang. An unknown number with a Birmingham area code. I snatched it up on the second buzz, expecting maybe my manager checking in or another silent caller. Instead, a man's voice came through, steady and official. "Good morning, ma'am. This is Detective Harris with the Birmingham Police Department. Am I speaking to Loretta Dixon?" My throat tightened. "Yes, that's me. What's this about?" He paused, papers shuffling on his end. "We're investigating a serious incident at Midland Capital on 20th Street this morning. Several employees were affected by unauthorized transactions, fraudulent wire transfers totaling $200,000 from client accounts. The building went into lockdown around 10 a.m. I gripped the phone harder, legs going weak as I sank into a chair. What does that have to do with me? I wasn't even there today. Another pause, longer this time. That's the issue, Ms. Dixon. We have security footage timestamped 8:07 a.m. showing your vehicle, gray Toyota Camry Alabama plates ending in 729, pulling into the employee garage. Your ID badge was swiped at the main entrance 2 minutes later, granting access to the trading floor where the transfers originated. You were last pinged on the third level at 9:45. Ice ran through my veins. That's impossible. I've been home all morning. Check my personal login. I didn't remote access anything. Detective Harris cleared his throat. We did. Your credentials were used to approve 3 outflows. One to an offshore account in the Caymans, another routed through a shell company in Delaware. Witnesses on the floor reported seeing a woman matching your description. Mid-30s, dark hair in a ponytail, wearing a navy blazer like the one in your staff photo, at the terminals right before the alert triggered. I stood up, fast pacing to the window, even though I knew better than to peek out. Someone cloned my badge, or used a duplicate key fob. Those are easy to copy if you get close enough. My car. Did the footage show who was driving? His voice stayed even, but I caught the edge. The camera angle on the garage entry is low, plate clear as day, but the driver's face is shadowed by the visor. No clear ID. And we recovered items from the scene. Your monogrammed planner with today's date circled a coffee cup with lipstick matching samples from your HR file, and a USB drive containing client lists only accessible via your Level 7 clearance. The room spun. My planner had gone missing from my desk drawer 2 weeks ago. I thought I'd misplaced it during a late audit. The lipstick was my everyday shade from the drugstore. And that USB, I'd reported it stolen from my purse at a coffee run last Friday. Detective, listen. Those could be planted. I swear I haven't left this house. No one can verify because I live alone, but my Ring camera shows no activity at the doors since midnight. He exhaled slowly. We pulled your home footage already. Subpoena went through an hour ago. It confirms you didn't exit, but gaps in coverage from 7 to 8 a.m. due to a firmware glitch raise questions. Ms. Dixon, you're listed as a person of interest. The FBI is getting involved because interstate wires exceed 50,000. We need you to come in for questioning. Units are en route to your address for your safety and to secure the premises. Questioning. Person of interest. FBI. Words that turn my stomach. Safety or to cuff me. This was set up. Someone wanted me pinned for it. Ma'am, we don't jump to conclusions, he replied, tone shifting formal. But the transaction trails lead back to your workstation IP. One transfer included a note, per L. Dixon authorization. Handwriting matches samples from your loan application at First Horizon Bank. Can you explain that? I couldn't. My handwriting, or a damn good forgery. No, but I will when I prove it wasn't me. Send me the footage timestamps. I'll get my IT guy to trace the badge clone. Detective Harris hesitated. Stay put. ETA 10 minutes. Do not leave. It's for your protection while we sort this. The line went dead. I dropped the phone on the table, hands shaking as I pressed them to my face. Protection. Right. If they had my car on tape, my badge pings my stuff at the scene. I looked guilty as hell. Who had access to all that? My keys from the hook by the door, the planner I'd chalked up to carelessness. Nathan had been in my kitchen last weekend grabbing a water while we talked real estate. He'd eyed my purse on the counter, made a joke about borrowing a pen. No, my own brother, stealing my things to stage this, but the pieces fit too well. Dad's old company, Dixon Realty, deals with those same Cayman shells for legit flips. Nathan bragging last month about big commissions coming in, without details. Dad's warnings ramping up right as Nathan's questions got pushy. I forced a breath, checked the deadbolt again, then armed the full security system. Doors, windows, motion lights. The app showed green across the board. Outside, a dog barked down the block, but the street stayed clear. Still, every shadow from passing clouds felt like a van pulling up. My mind raced through defenses. Midland's fraud team would have logs. I could call my direct supervisor, but he'd be in chaos mode. Better to lawyer up first. I scrolled contacts for the family attorney. Dad always used the one who handled his settlement quietly. But before I hit call, tires crunched faintly on gravel 2 houses down. Too early for mail, too deliberate for a neighbor. Instinct hit like a slap. This wasn't random police work. Someone engineered every detail to drag me in to make me the fall guy for a scam big enough to bury careers. And Dad knew. That's why he risked coming over in the dark. Knew they'd clone my life to destroy it. The clock hit 10:42. Sirens or not, I wasn't opening that door for anyone who knocked. Less than 5 minutes after the call ended, a familiar knock came at the front door. Soft, but insistent. I froze in the hallway, heart hammering. Through the peephole, I saw Dad standing on the porch, collar turned up against the midday sun, eyes scanning the street behind him. I hesitated only a second before unlocking the deadbolt. The moment the door cracked open, he stepped inside fast, closing it behind him without a sound. His face looked 10 years older than this morning. Lines deeper, shoulders hunched like he carried bricks. "Dad?" I whispered, voice cracking for the first time today. "The police just called. They think I did it. They have footage, my badge, my planner, everything points to me." He gave a single nod, slow, like he'd been expecting exactly those words. "I know. That's why I'm here." He moved past me into the living room, pulled the blinds tighter, then turned to face me. "Sit down, Loretta. We don't have much time before they show up." I didn't sit. I crossed my arms instead, staring at him. "You knew this was coming. You warned me at dawn. Tell me everything. Now." He exhaled hard through his nose, ran a hand over his graying hair. "It started at Dixon Realty. Not the layoff story I fed everyone. The board didn't restructure. They found discrepancies, large commissions disappearing into offshore accounts, client funds rerouted without approval. I was the one who discovered it. And the person skimming was Nathan." The room tilted. "Nathan? My brother, Nathan." Dad's eyes met mine, steady but pained. He started small 5-figure advances on deals that never closed. Thought no one would notice. But when the amounts climbed into 6 figures, I confronted him. He begged me not to report it. Said he was in deep with bad investments, needed time to pay back. I believed him. Or wanted to. So I covered the shortfall from my own savings, forged a few internal memos to make the books balance. The board never knew the full extent. They just saw red ink and pushed me out with a quiet non-disclosure agreement. I took the fall to protect him. To protect all of us. I felt the air leave my lungs. You let them fire you for him. I thought it would end there, Dad said quietly. Nathan promised to stop. He got a new job, seemed to straighten out. But he never paid anything back. Instead, he kept digging. Last year, he came to me again, said he had a sure thing investment needed capital. I refused. That's when he shifted focus to you. To me. My voice rose despite myself. What do I have to do with his mess? Your name is on the family trust documents, the one Grandma set up before she passed. The bulk of the remaining Dixon Realty assets, the lake property, the investment portfolio worth almost $800,000 now, all goes to you as primary beneficiary. Nathan's share is smaller, conditional on good behavior. He knew if you were discredited, arrested, fired, dragged through court, he could challenge the will on grounds of undue influence or incompetence, or pressure me to liquidate everything to help you fight the charges. Once the money's out, he takes his cut and disappears. The betrayal hit like a physical blow. Nathan, my little brother who used to beg me to help with homework, who cried at Grandma's funeral, had planned to ruin me for cash. He stole my planner, my USB, probably cloned my badge when he was here last month. He even asked about my schedule. Dad nodded grimly. He had help a contact at a security firm downtown who specializes in corporate espionage. They duplicated your key fob, pulled your access logs, planted the evidence. The transfers this morning were designed to look like insider trading on your part. Enough to trigger federal scrutiny, freeze accounts, and make you look desperate enough to have done it. I paced to the fireplace, gripping the mantle until my knuckles whitened. Why now? Why today? Because the trust matures next month. Nathan knows if he waits, the assets distribute automatically to you. He needs chaos before then. And he needed me out of the way, hence the early warning to keep you home. He figured if you weren't at work, the impersonation would fail. But he didn't count on me coming here first. I turned back to him. You protected him for years. Why stop now? Dad's shoulders sagged. Because I finally saw what he was willing to do to his own sister. I couldn't let him destroy you the way he almost destroyed me. That's why I kept the original ledgers, the real ones, showing his embezzlement from Dixon Realty. They're in a safe deposit box at Regions Bank on Highland Avenue. My key is in the glove box of my truck outside. If we get there before the police lock down your house, we can hand everything to the authorities. Nathan goes down for fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. The trust stays intact. You stay clean. The weight of it settled over me, not just the fraud, but the fracture. My brother had turned family into a transaction. Dad had carried the secret alone for years to hold us together. And now it was all crumbling in one morning. I met his eyes. We go now. But if this blows back on you, I'll face it, he said. I should have faced it 3 years ago. I grabbed my keys from the hook, slipped on shoes, checked the street through a slit in the blinds. No cruisers yet, but time was bleeding away fast. Dad opened the door a crack, scanned left and right. Stay close. We'll take my truck. Yours is too hot now. We stepped out into the bright Alabama sun, the kind that usually felt warm and forgiving. Today, it felt like a spotlight. We slid into Dad's truck before the first siren echoed down the block. He turned the key engine, rumbling low, and eased out of the driveway without headlights. Daylight was bright enough anyway. I kept my head below the window line until we cleared the neighborhood, then sat up scanning every intersection for blue lights. Highland Avenue's 15 minutes if traffic stays light, Dad said, eyes flicking between mirrors. Regions Bank branch near the old medical center. I renewed the box last year, still active. I gave a quick nod, gripping the door handle like it could anchor me. The streets of Birmingham rolled past familiar brick homes, giving way to wider avenues lined with oaks and fast food signs. Every red light felt like a trap. At one stop, I caught sight of a patrol car 2 lanes over. My pulse spiked until it turned left and disappeared. Dad kept his speed steady, 5 under the limit. They'll check your house first, he said. Then Midland Capital. Gives us a window. Not big, but enough. I didn't answer. My mind was replaying the math. 800,000 in assets, Nathan's share conditional. My name is primary. It wasn't abstract anymore. It was motive, clear as the road signs flashing by. I glanced at Dad's profile, jaw-tight knuckles white on the wheel, and felt a pang I hadn't expected. He had carried this alone so long it had carved permanent shadows under his eyes. We hit the interstate loop, traffic moderate for midday. Dad merged smoothly, then spoke again. The ledgers are originals, handwritten entries from 2018 to 2021, Nathan's initials on every diverted commission, dates, amounts, account numbers. I photocopied nothing. Originals carry more weight with investigators. And you kept them in a bank box instead of turning them over. The question came out sharper than I meant. He didn't flinch. I thought exposure would destroy the family name, destroy him. I was wrong. Keeping quiet only gave him room to grow bolder. Silence stretched between us until we exited onto Highland. The bank came into view, a low brick building with wide glass doors, the region's logo prominent. Dad pulled into the rear lot away from the main entrance, killed the engine. Stay calm inside, he said. They'll ask for ID. I have the key and signature card. You're listed as authorized co-access since last renewal. We walked in together. The lobby smelled of coffee and printer ink. A teller glanced up, smiled professionally. Dad approached the desk voice even. Safe deposit box access, please. Box 417. The teller checked his ID, then mine, Loretta Dixon driver's license matching the signature card. She led us down a short hallway to the vault room, swiped her card, and the heavy door hissed open. Inside, rows of brass-fronted boxes gleamed under fluorescent light. She inserted her master key, Dad inserted his. The small door popped. She pulled the long metal tray out and set it on a private table in an alcove room, then left us alone with a polite, "Buzz when you're ready." Dad lifted the lid. Inside lay a thin stack of bound ledgers, dark green covers, edges worn from years of handling. On top was a single envelope sealed, my name written in his familiar block letters. He handed it to me first. "Read this before the books." I tore it open. Inside 2 pages in his handwriting. "Loretta, if you're holding this, things went worse than I hoped. The ledgers show every transaction Nathan altered, commissions siphoned to personal accounts. Client refunds, never issued fake vendor payments. Total diverted $147,000 over 3 years. I covered most from personal funds so the company wouldn't collapse. I thought loyalty would fix him. It didn't. The trust protects you because Grandma knew you would never touch what wasn't yours. Nathan resents that. If he's escalated to framing you, use these records. Contact Agent Ramirez at the Birmingham FBI field office. He handled white-collar cases when I consulted quietly in 2022. Tell him, Dixon Realty 2019 referral. He'll remember. I'm sorry I didn't act sooner. I love you both, but I failed to see the line between protection and enabling. Don't carry my mistake." Dad, my eyes burned. I folded the letter carefully, slipped it into my pocket. Dad opened the first ledger. Pages of neat columns, date, client name, commission, amount, disbursement account. Red ink circled discrepancies, NC, diverted to $4,782, next to a $10,000 entry. Another NC, fake invoice, December 14th, 19, $18,500. Page after page, the pattern clear and damning. Nathan's initials appeared like signatures on every theft. I flipped to the last section, 2021 entries, the final ones before Dad's exit. A $22,000 transfer marked consulting fee to an LLC Nathan had formed. No services rendered, no follow-up. "This is enough," I said quietly. "More than enough." Dad closed the ledger. "It is. We photograph everything, now use your phone. High resolution. Then we leave. Call Ramirez from a payphone or burner if we have to. No home line, no cell until we're clear." I pulled out my phone, switched to camera, started snapping pages methodically. The shutter sound felt too loud in the quiet vault. Dad stood guard at the door, watching the hallway. 20 minutes later, the tray was back in its slot, locked. We walked out past the same teller who nodded without question. Outside, the sun had shifted west, shadows lengthening across the lot. Dad started the truck again. "Where to next?" I stared at the photos on my screen, evidence now digital, undeniable. "Somewhere safe, then we end this." The engine caught and we pulled away from the bank, the weight of the truth heavier than the ledgers we left behind. The truck rolled onto a quiet side street near Avondale, far enough from Highland that the bank felt like another life already. Dad pulled into the lot behind an empty strip mall, closed nail salon on one end, shuttered dry cleaner on the other. No cameras visible, no foot traffic. He cut the engine. "Show me the photos again," he said. I opened the gallery, zoomed in on the clearest ledger page, Nathan's initials next to a diverted $15,000 commission from a Mountain Brook listing in October 2019. The ink looked almost mocking now. Blue ballpoint slightly smudged the same pen he used to sign birthday cards. Dad studied the screen in silence. That's his writing. No question. Every entry matches the pattern I flagged years ago. I scrolled to the next image, the envelope letter. The words, "I failed to see the line between protection and enabling," stared back. My thumb hovered over the share icon. "We send this to Agent Ramirez now." "Not from here," Dad replied. "Your phone's tracked. Mine too, probably. We need a secure way. There's a public library 3 blocks over. Computers, no login required if we use guest access. Print hard copies if we can then email from there." I nodded. The decision had crystallized the moment I read the letter. No more delays. No more covering for anyone. Nathan had crossed into territory that couldn't be forgiven. We walked the short distance, keeping to shaded sidewalks. Inside the library, the air was cool and smelled of old books and sanitizer. A single row of public terminals sat against the far wall. I claimed the end one, Dad took the next. Guest login took seconds. First, I opened a private browsing window, searched Birmingham FBI field office contact. Agent Ramirez's direct line appeared on an official directory page, same one Dad had referenced. I copied it, then attached the photo folder to a new email. Subject line, Dixon Realty 2019 referral, urgent evidence submission. The body I kept brief. Agent Ramirez. My name is Loretta Dixon. My father, Robert Dixon, consulted with you in 2022 regarding embezzlement at Dixon Realty. Attached are photographs of original ledgers documenting unauthorized diversions totaling $147,000 signed by my brother, Nathan Carter. The evidence includes dates, amounts, and account details. This morning, my workplace, Midland Capital, suffered a major fraud incident in which my identity was used to execute unauthorized transfers. I believe Nathan orchestrated the impersonation to discredit me and force liquidation of family trust assets where I am primary beneficiary. We are submitting this voluntarily. Please advise next steps. We are not at home and can meet at a secure location. Loretta Dixon. My cell number. I attached all 72 photos, close-ups of every relevant page the letter included. Clicked send. The progress bar crept forward slowly, then confirmed. Dad watched over my shoulder. Good. Now print 2 sets. The printer in the corner hummed to life. We collected the warm sheets, stapled them, slipped 1 set into a manila envelope from the supply shelf. The second we folded into my bag. As we stepped outside, my phone vibrated Nathan's name on the screen. I stared at it like it might burn me. Dad saw. Answer. Put it on speaker. I hit accept. Nathan. His voice came through tight, almost cheerful. Hey sis, where you at? Police are at your house, said they need to talk to you. Everything okay? The casual tone made my stomach turn. You know exactly why they're there. A short laugh forced. What? No idea. Just heard the chatter. Thought I'd check on you. I kept my voice level. Cut the act. I have the ledgers. The originals from Dixon Realty. Your initials on every stolen commission. Silence stretched 5 full seconds. When he spoke again, the cheer was gone. You broke into Dad's stuff. That's low, Loretta. I didn't break in. Dad gave me access. He told me everything, how you begged him to cover for you, how he took the fall so you wouldn't go to prison. And instead of stopping, you targeted me. Stole my things, cloned my badge, framed me for fraud at work. For what? The trust money. His breathing quickened. You don't understand. I was protecting us. The company was sinking anyway. I just redirected some cash to keep things afloat. Redirected, I repeated flatly. 147,000, and today, 200,000 from Midland client accounts routed through shells you probably set up. You planted my planner, my USB. You wanted me arrested so Dad would sell everything to bail me out. Then you'd take your share and run. Loretta, listen. No, you listen. I already sent copies to the FBI. Agent Ramirez has the photos. The ledgers, the letter Dad wrote. It's over. A long exhale on his end. You're making a mistake. Dad's involved too. He forged those memos. He'll go down with me. Dad leaned closer to the phone. I know, son. And I'm ready to face it. But you crossed a line I can't forgive. You tried to destroy your sister. Nathan's voice cracked. Dad, you're with her. Yes. We're done protecting you. There was a thud like a fist hitting a desk. You both think your hero's fine. But you have no proof that ties me to Midland. The transfers were from Loretta's terminal. Good luck proving I touched anything. I cut in. The security firm you hired left digital traces. IP logs payment records to their account. FBI can subpoena that in hours. And your LLC from 2021. The one that received the fake consulting fee, it's linked to the same routing numbers as today's transfers. Sloppy Nathan. He went quiet. When he spoke again, the tone had shifted cold, calculating. You really want to do this? Tear the family apart? Mom's memory, Grandma's trust gone. All because you can't let go of some old books. Mom would be ashamed, I said. The words came out steady. She raised us to be honest. You chose greed. He laughed once, bitter. Call the FBI then. See how far it gets you. I'll be gone before they knock. The line went dead. I stared at the screen thumb still on the red button. Dad placed a hand on my shoulder, gentle, the first real touch since this morning. You did the right thing. I swallowed hard. He'll run. Or fight. Maybe. But he can't outrun evidence. And neither can we hide forever. Dad glanced at the envelope in my hand. We drop this at the FBI field office downtown. In person. No more emails. Then we wait. We return to the truck. The library lot was still empty, but the air felt different, charged, final. I buckled an envelope on my lap like a shield. As Dad pulled out, I looked back at the strip mall shrinking in the mirror. Somewhere in the city, Nathan was probably already packing a bag, deleting files, calling contacts. But the ledgers were real. The letter was real. The choice I'd made was real. No going back. No forgiveness. Just consequences. We arrived at the FBI field office on Reverend Abraham Woods Jr. Boulevard just after 3. The building was low and gray, federal flags snapping in the afternoon wind. Dad parked in the visitor lot. We walked in together, envelope in my hand. The receptionist took one look at our faces and called upstairs. Agent Ramirez met us in a small conference room 10 minutes later, mid-40s, short hair tie slightly loosened. He shook our hands firmly, sat across the table, and opened the folder without preamble. I remember the 2019 referral, he said. Your father came in voluntarily back then. We couldn't move without more. Looks like we have more now. He flipped through the printed pages slowly. These ledger entries are clean. Chain of custody is good, originals photographed today. Timestamps on the images. The email you sent from the library IP is logged. We'll subpoena the security firm records and the LLC bank statements. If they match, this ties directly to the Midland incident. I handed over my phone photos still on screen. Everything's there. The letter from Dad explains the cover-up. He forged memos to hide the losses. Ramirez looked at Dad. You're aware of the exposure risk? Dad nodded once. I am. Whatever comes, I accept it. The agent leaned back. Cooperation helps. We'll take your statements now. Separate rooms. After that, you can go home, but stay available. We spent the next 4 hours there. I told my side in one room, morning, warning, police call, discovery of the framing bank visit, email. Dad did the same next door. When we finished, Ramirez walked us to the lobby. Preliminary warrants are being drafted, he said. We'll move fast on Nathan. If he's flight risk, we pick him up tonight or tomorrow. Thank you for bringing this in person. We drove home in silence. The sun was low, painting the interstate orange. My house looked unchanged from the curb blinds still drawn, no cruisers. Inside, the air smelled faintly of coffee from morning. I locked the door behind us. Dad sank into the armchair. "It's done." "Not yet," I said, "but soon." The call came at 8:17 p.m. Agent Ramirez. We located Nathan at his apartment in Homewood. He was packing. Arrested without incident. Federal charges: wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit fraud, aggravated identity theft. The security firm contact rolled fast, gave up payment records and IP logs. Matches your evidence. I exhaled slowly. And Dad. Prosecutors will offer him misdemeanor accessory after the fact in exchange for full testimony. Probation likely 2 to 5 years, community service restitution if any remains unpaid. No jail time if he cooperates fully. And me? You're cleared. Midland's internal investigation already pulled your access logs, shows no login from your home IP during the transfers. Your alibi holds. They'll issue a formal statement tomorrow. You can go back to work when ready. I thanked him, ended the call. Dad was watching me from the chair. He's in custody, I told him. Charges filed. They'll offer you probation. He closed his eyes for a long moment. Good. I deserve worse. The weeks that followed blurred into procedure. Nathan's arraignment was quick. He pleaded not guilty at first, then took a deal 3 months later, guilty on all counts, except one lesser charge dropped. Sentencing came in late spring: 12 years federal prison, 5 years supervised release, after restitution of $147,000 plus Midland's $200,000. The judge called it calculated betrayal of family and trust. Nathan didn't look at us in the gallery. Dad's hearing was quieter. He pleaded guilty to the misdemeanor. Probation: 3 years, monthly reporting, no travel outside Alabama without permission, 200 hours community service at a financial literacy nonprofit. He paid a fine of $10,000 from what remained of his savings. Midland welcomed me back with an apology letter and a temporary raise for the inconvenience. I declined the raise, took 2 weeks off instead. When I returned, the trading floor felt smaller, the screens brighter. I kept my desk clean, my door open. Nathan tried to call once from county jail pre-sentencing. I let it go to voicemail. His message was short. "Loretta, please, we can fix this." I deleted it without replying. I never listened to another. Dad and I still talk. He comes over for dinner sometimes. Quiet meals, no mention of the past unless I bring it up. He volunteers at the nonprofit now, teaching basic budgeting to people rebuilding after debt. He looks lighter somehow. But the space between us is wider than it used to be. Not anger, just distance that won't close. I sold the lake property last fall. The trust money went into a new account in my name only. I donated a portion to a victims fund for financial fraud survivors. The rest sits untouched. I don't need it yet. Some nights I sit on the porch watching the streetlights come on. I think about trust, the kind you give without question, the kind that survives mistakes, the kind that doesn't. Nathan broke the first. Dad bent the second. I chose the third. This story isn't just about what happened to me. It's about what happens when greed replaces loyalty, when secrets become weapons, when family stops being a safe place and becomes a battlefield. The value it carries for anyone watching is simple but hard-earned. Trust is the foundation of every real relationship, but blind trust can destroy you. Justice isn't always loud or fast, but when it comes, it restores balance even if it leaves scars. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from blood ties that have turned toxic, because protecting your peace is worth more than preserving a broken family name. I hope my experience reminds you to watch the people closest to you, not with suspicion, but with honest eyes. Question inconsistencies early. Protect your boundaries, and never let guilt or fear stop you from choosing truth over comfort. Because the cost of silence is always higher than the pain of speaking up. Thank you so much for staying with me through this entire story, from that terrifying knock at 5 a.m. to this quiet reflection on the porch. Your time, your comments, your support mean more than you know. If this story touched you, moved you, or made you think twice about the people in your life, please give it a like, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next one. Share this video with anyone who needs to hear it, friends, family, someone going through their own quiet betrayal. The more people listen, the more reminders we spread that truth and justice are worth fighting for. Wishing you all good health, endless luck, and real happiness, the kind that comes from living honestly and surrounding yourself with people who deserve your trust. Until the next story, take care of yourselves and each other.